Brosnan adopted both of them and raised them as his own. He and Cassandra also had a son together, Sean, who was born in 1983. So by the time tragedy entered their home, they had built a full family life together. Cassandra had been diagnosed with cancer in 1987, and for 4 years she fought it with everything she had. There were 8 surgeries. There was chemotherapy again and again. Through all of it, Brosnan stayed beside her. Later, he spoke about holding her hand at the end. He spoke about the incredible cruelty of losing her. He also said that she was the person who made him the man, the actor, and the father he became. That tells you how deep the loss went. This was not only the death of a wife, it was the loss of the person who had shaped the center of his life. What made it even heavier was the history already attached to it. Cassandra's own mother had also died of ovarian cancer. Cassandra knew what she was facing. She understood the danger from the beginning, and still, she had to live through it. Then, years later, the same grief returned in a way that almost feels impossible to bear. In June 2013, Brosnan's daughter Charlotte died of the same disease. She was 41 years old and had been fighting it for 3 years. She died on June 28, 2013, surrounded by her husband, her children, and her brothers. That detail changes everything when you sit with it for a moment. It was the same illness. It took both mother and daughter. Brosnan had already seen what ovarian cancer could do, and then he had to watch it strike his family again. He has spoken about living with what he once called a dark, melancholy Irish black dog beside him. The phrase says a lot, because it does not sound like the language of someone passing through sadness for a season. It sounds like someone who has learned that grief stays close, and that life goes on with it still there. Over time, Brosnan turned that pain into action. He became a public advocate for ovarian cancer research. He spoke at events, supported awareness campaigns, and used his voice to push for funding and attention. So when people look back at the lighter work, the thrillers that came and went, the musical numbers, the polished smile, they can miss what was sitting underneath all of it. This is the emotional ground beneath the story. This is what he was carrying the whole time. And once you understand that, the strength of his later career starts to mean something deeper. The role that changed everything. That change finally arrived in the spring of 2025. And when it came with real force. Mobland premiered on Paramount Plus on March 30th, 2025. It was a 10-episode crime series created by Ronan Bennett, written with Jez Butterworth, and produced by Guy Ritchie, who also directed several episodes. The setup was sharp and violent from the start. 2 London crime families, the Harrigans and the Stevensons, were locked in a brutal struggle for power, with every move carrying the sense that one mistake could end in blood. The cast gave the series instant weight. Tom Hardy played Harry da Souza, the fixer whose loyalty made him dangerous. Helen Mirren played Maeve Harrigan, the family matriarch with a hard edge and a colder mind. Brosnan played Conrad Harrigan, the patriarch, the man at the top, the one who kept control by staying calm while everyone around him edged closer to chaos. In the trailer, Conrad says he is the one who holds it together because his wife is the most dangerous of all. That one line tells you a lot about the atmosphere of the show, and it also tells you the kind of role Brosnan stepped into. This part did not ask for easy charm. It did not ask for glamour or for the familiar Bond polish. It asked for something much quieter and much harder. Conrad Harrigan had to feel dangerous without needing to announce it. He had to carry authority in stillness. He had to make a threat land through tone, timing, and presence. Brosnan found that note almost immediately, and viewers noticed. So did critics. Suddenly, they were seeing a side of him that had barely been used across all those years of action films and studio thrillers. What made the performance stand out even more was the company he was keeping. Tom Hardy has a reputation for dominating scenes. He brings intensity that can swallow a room. Yet Brosnan stood opposite him and never faded. He held his ground. He met that energy with something older, colder, and more settled. That balance gave the series a lot of its power. The response backed it up. By June 2025, Mobland had reached more than 26 million viewers worldwide. That made it the second most watched original series in Paramount Plus history, behind only Landman. Then, only 3 weeks after the finale, the show was renewed for a second season, with Brosnan, Hardy, and Mirren all returning. That number matters because it changes the shape of the story. More than 26 million viewers is not the sign of an actor gently drifting through late career work. It is the mark of a real hit, and at the center of it was Pierce Brosnan, now older, more weathered, and finally being given material that let people see the full weight he could bring to the screen. The forgotten film Netflix brought back to life. Before Mobland helped reshape the way people looked at Brosnan, there was another moment that quietly made the same point. In December 2023, a crime film called Fast Charlie opened in a small number of cinemas. Most people never noticed it. The release was so limited that it barely registered. Its total theatrical gross landed around $260,000, which in film terms is close to disappearing entirely. It was directed by Philip Noyce, based on the novel Gun Monkeys, and Brosnan played Charlie Swift, a veteran mob fixer trying to hunt down the rival boss who killed his friend, while also dealing with the dead man's girlfriend. After that, the film moved to VOD in late 2023. It found a small audience there, then slowly slipped out of view. For a while, that looked like the end of its story. Then Netflix stepped in during June 2026, and suddenly the film had a second chance. For the week of June 8th to June 14th, 2026, Fast Charlie appeared on Netflix's global top 10 movie list. It reached number 5 worldwide, with 3.9 million views and 5.9 million hours watched in a single week. In the United States, it entered the top 10 at number 6, climbed to number 2 the next day, and stayed there for 3 straight days. A film that had made only $260,000 in theaters was now one of the most watched movies on the biggest streaming platform in the world. That turnaround gave the film a meaning it did not have on release. It also brought extra emotion with it because Fast Charlie included one of the final performances by James Caan. Caan had filmed the movie before his death in July 2022, so when the movie resurfaced on Netflix, it carried a feeling of return for him as well. For many viewers, it felt like a small and unexpected farewell. What mattered most in the larger Brosnan story was the message hidden inside that success. He had not lost the audience. The audience had simply not been given the work in a way that let them find it. Once the film appeared on the right platform at the right moment, people showed up. That idea reaches far beyond one movie. In many ways, it explains his whole later career. The talent was still there. The screen presence was still there. The appetite from viewers was still there too. What had been missing was the moment when the industry and the audience finally looked again and recognized what had been in front of them all along. A leading man, again at 73. At the very moment Amazon and MGM are publicly searching for the next James Bond, meeting actors, testing possibilities, and trying to define the future of the franchise, after Daniel Craig, the man they pushed aside in 2004, is moving through one of the strongest periods of his career. Brosnan, now 73, is working more, earning stronger reviews, and landing more interesting roles than he has in years. One of the clearest signs of that comes with Cliffhanger, which is set to open in cinemas on August 28, 2026. Directed by Jaume Collet-Serra, the film stars Lily James alongside Brosnan, who plays Ray Cooper, a veteran mountaineer running a remote alpine chalet in the Italian Dolomites when a kidnapping plot tears through his family. The setup is built for a tight survival thriller, but what stands out around the film is how much confidence the industry is already showing in it. The project was acquired at the Toronto International Film Festival in an 8-figure deal, and it is being released widely by Row K Entertainment. Producers are reportedly already developing a sequel, which says a lot for a film that has not even opened yet. Then there is Giant, which has already arrived and already been judged on its own terms. The film tells the story of boxer Prince Nassim Hamed. It was produced by Sylvester Stallone, written and directed by Rowan Athale, and Brosnan plays Brendan Ingle, the Irish boxing trainer who took a 7-year-old Naz Hamed into his world in a Sheffield church hall and helped shape him into a champion. What Brosnan did with that role matters because it was a full transformation. He wore a bald cap. He wore a prosthetic nose. He sat through hours each day in the special effects chair while the team at Millennium FX changed his appearance. He himself said it plainly. This was a transformation. He did not resemble Brendan. That level of physical commitment tells you that he was not treating the part lightly. He was chasing something real in it. The film premiered at the BFI London Film Festival and opened in UK cinemas on January 9, 2026. Around him, the commitment from the rest of the cast matched the seriousness of the project. Amir El Masri, playing Naz Hamed, reportedly spent 12 hours a day training with a movement coach, a vocal coach, and a strict food regimen. That kind of effort changes the feel of a film. It gives the whole production a sense of purpose. Brosnan's work sits inside that environment, and it benefits from it. What all of this points to is simple. He is not drifting through the remains of old fame. He is stepping into demanding roles and meeting them fully. And that becomes even more striking when you remember where he has already been. He already had the franchise. He already had the worldwide fame. He already had the giant paychecks that rose from $4 million to $16.5 million across his Bond run. Then, all of that ended suddenly, with the decision delivered by phone. After living through that kind of rise and that kind of removal, the work that comes later tends to reveal something more personal. It shows what an actor still wants to do when the biggest spotlight has moved on. That is what makes this chapter of the story so satisfying. At 73, Brosnan is not living off memory. He is still building. He is still changing. He is still finding new ways to hold the screen. And because of that, he has become something rare. He is a leading man again. Though now the appeal runs deeper, the performances carry more life, and the story has become much richer than it was the first time around.